Hey, speed freaks, and welcome to the American Downhiller podcast presented by skiracing.com, where we share our insights and stories about the best sport in the world, World Cup downhill, and the legendary tracks that will be run this winter. Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Lewis, two-time Olympic downhiller, and way back in 1985, the 1900s, along with the entire World Cup, we arrived at Bormio for the first ever running of that tough course, and it was for the World Championships. Joining me are three of the fastest downhillers in our history. AJ Kitt, a four-time Olympian, and 10 years after I ran Bormio to a bronze medal, AJ upped the ante and finished second to Luc Alphon on the gnarly course, 1995. Next up, Darren Rawls, winner of 12 World Cups. 20 years after I won my bronze medal, Darren skied away with two medals, a silver in the downhill at the 2005 World Championships. And they were 10 seconds faster than I am, but we'll talk about that. And finally, the founder of American Downhillers, Marco Sullivan, a four-time Olympian who was the only American downhiller to ever win the tough downhill at Chamonix, France. But today, our featured guest is RCS, Ryan Cochran Siegel. 2018 Olympian, a World Junior Downhill champion, a World Cup winner, and that came in a Super G at Bormio last year, where he crushed everyone by 0.8 of a second. That's a day and a half in Super G. However, he is back and ready to get on the podium. RCS, welcome to American Downhiller Podcast. Thanks for being with us. And first of all, where are you and how is the skiing training going?
Yeah, thanks all of you guys for having me. It's always fun to talk with you guys and talk history of the sport, but I'm in Patch, Austria right now. So it's just like up the hill from Innsbruck, kind of the heart of ski racing, but we're just taking some time off between, the races in Gardena and Alta Badia and then into Bormio. So I think there's about 4 days off, which feeling pretty good to get some rest.
Yeah, talk about this season so far. I expected a little bit more from you, just as a fellow Vermonter and a big fan. But Lake Louise, 10th, not bad. Birds of Prey, 6th, a little bit better. Gardena, 9th in the Super G. What's been the biggest challenge for you this season to find that speed again?
I think, it's kind of just the consistency from start to finish. That's really been the biggest battle. I think I've had fast sections, fast training runs that have given me confidence, but then when it's coming to the racing, I think there's still, just getting totally in sync all the way for the entire run that I need work on, or that really just needs to come with a little bit of time and patience. I think in Lake Louise, I was actually having a pretty solid run. I was at 4th coming out of Gun Barrel, and I was less than a 10th off of Creekmire too. So I was within podium contention. I just bled a lot of time on the flats. I wasn't really aerodynamic and wasn't carrying my speed that well. So that was kind of a bummer, a pretty big difference between, where I was and where I finished in 10th. But I think taking the positives away from that and recognizing I think I'm skiing well. It's just a matter of putting it all together on race day and figuring out that mental component of it. So yeah, definitely think it's been solid. I definitely think my ability, I know that I can achieve more. So trying to figure out how to do that.
RCS, I'm going to go against Doug here. I think you have done amazing for walking out of Kitzbühel with a broken neck last year. I mean, you're right back in the hunt right away. And I think you're skiing super solid, and it's just a matter of time before it stacks up. So nice work on getting back on the horse. Yeah,
thank you. It's definitely tough. When I got injured, I was kind of at an all-time high with my career. So trying to not have those same expectations, coming back into the race after injury, after switching companies, that it's got to take time and just, being persistent every day. But I think it's you can see it both ways for sure. And I think trying to just do that in a way too.
Let's dive into that injury. You were on fire, right? Second at Val Gardena, you win at Bormio, you're winning at Kitzbühel. We thought we had our next U.S. winner to join D. Rawls, and then you took a hard right on the fall away and broke your neck. Talk about that, because it sounds crazy. How was coming back from that injury?
I think it sounds a lot crazier than it was. We're talking about a very, very small little fracture. It was obviously could be far more severe than what it ended up being. And it was unfortunate timing. I think, it was just the consequences of, trying to find that limit as a downhiller. And yeah, took a hard right turn when I should have been hanging on to the traverse, but learned that lesson, and was fortunate to be able to more or less walk away from it. I had, I don't know, 8 weeks off after surgery, and was skiing in beginning of May with the American Downhiller team in Mammoth, and then had like a really solid full prep period starting in August, training in gates and doing all that. So I think it was a bit of a blip more so than something more severe injury wise, but definitely something to learn from when you're kind of that close to very, very severe consequences. But yeah, it's I think a learning experience for sure. I don't hold any grudges against Kitzbühel. I mean, it's still a beast that I'm trying to tame, and I think I look forward to that moment when it comes, but also trying to focus on right now.
Ryan, maybe worse than the injury was that you were taken out of a groove that you were in back then, that you were definitely one of the fastest guys, and you were just getting ready to prove it every day, right? Like fast in training, fast in races, putting up all the results. And then all of a sudden that stops, right? So like, what's your plan to get back to that point? I mean, are you relying on what you did leading up to that point last year of trying to build momentum, build confidence, or is this process a little bit different because you're coming back from injury?
Yeah, I feel that it's just about building as much confidence as possible from previous races, from kind of where I feel I am with my ability and my speed right now. And I think the cool part of the injury was that it was just this one tiny little piece of my body. The rest of the body was healthy. So I don't have to like relearn a lot of those kind of muscular patterns as a ski racer. It's all still ingrained and I can still trust it. I think it's just like finding the trust on race day that I am, good enough and can be one of the fastest, if not the fastest. So yeah, battling that, but I mean, as we all know, as athletes, it's such a huge mental game, trying to work with that and trying to figure yourself out so you can be your best. But yeah, I think it would have been nice to have seen kind of how that season could have finished prior to the injury, but I guess we'll never know, and have to kind of reset where I'm at right now.
Yeah, Ryan, going back to that moment at Kitzbühel, like you said, it was one of those just glitches, right? Just stuff happens and move on. I think you have a good outlook as far as that goes. You got a little redemption this year, get back to, but because I mean, you just had the flow, and you're in the same position now as you were last year when you came to Bormio. I mean, a couple of days, you have just recharging and all that. Are you trying to look back at last year, kind of how you came to Bormio to set yourself up, for that same success and just that good feeling on the hill? Are you watching a lot of video right now? What are you kind of like doing to mentally kind of get your head in the game for next week?
Yeah, I think trying to just give it a good reset right now. I think I know that I have good skiing. It's just a matter of being able to attain it on race day. That's what I'm struggling with, if you call it struggling. So, I mean, for me, I think it's just like taking a few days off, not focusing on skiing, kind of letting the mind just like get to feel a little bit normal for now. And then I think as we get into Bormio, ramping that up. And I mean, my focus is on just the first training run, trying to see what the slope is like and see, how I want to ski it, what mentality I want to bring, what it's going to demand just based on the terrain and the snow conditions. But for now, I don't know, baking Christmas cookies and, spending some downtime with the team is really all I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. How about real quick, after Val Gardena, did you get some good GS training in? Because talking to your coach, Forrest Carey in Beaver Creek, he was like, Ryan needs like a couple good days of GS to get like right where, he feels the best and has a lot of confidence rolling. So we talked to Bryce. We heard it was he got on some GS, but how was that going for you? Did you personally get some good runs in?
Yeah, I got some. Well, I raced in Alta Badia the last 2 GSs, so I wasn't that fast, but I had So between Beaver Creek and Gardena, I actually flew over to Europe a couple days early, and we got some GS training in Alta Badia on the warm-up slope. Like Alex Kilda was there, Sam Morris and Eric Arvidsson, we were all training together. So I thought that I had some good days there. And I think by the time race day came in Alta Badia, it was just, I don't think I've had kind of allowed myself to get the volume to push on the pitch. And I mean, that hill is definitely incredibly demanding for a GS skier. And obviously coming from speed and not getting a whole lot of volume this prep, it was a challenge for sure. Battling, I mean, the conditions, the hill, and I think also fatigue. But yeah, it's definitely, Bormio is like where I'm headed with, I mean, training and skiing. And then after Bormio, that's when I think we're going to push for a good GS block, and try to give myself a good chance for Adelboden and skiing fast there. But it's always, always that balance of getting speed when you can, and then when the schedule allows, fitting in GS here and there.
Yeah, I got one more follow up on that. I mean, obviously River is crushing in GS. He's fast. He's had some good consistency. Are you jumping in, training with him a little bit? I mean, I think that'd be a great benefit if you guys could train together. He can learn some from you. You can, pick up some stuff from him. But just like having that team dynamic, I think that'd be pretty strong for both of you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's skiing at such an elite level right now. And I was talking with him yesterday about, he's even putting runs down that aren't perfectly clean. It's not his best skiing, but he's still a top 10 skier at that level. I mean, it'll be really cool to see what he's able to do with his best skiing for 2 runs. I think that's going to be competing with the best in the world for sure. So unfortunately, based on our schedules, he was in Val d'Isere when I was training in Alta Badia. So the last time we trained GS together was in Solden. But I think after Bormio, when we get together, I'll be with the GS team in Fulgaria and trying to get, some good, high quality, high intensity training. And obviously River as a teammate, he brings his, full 100% every single day he's on the hill, regardless if it's a race or training. So it's definitely, I mean, where he's at right now, you'll know that he'll be bringing the pace for the training environment to try to learn from and try to see where he's at to, get that reference.
Yeah, it's a great barometer for the whole team, and for you just jumping in with those GS guys, like to see where you're at. And I think it's really important to have that intensity for training and just bring it right into the race day. So cool.
Yeah.
Keeping it on the team aspect, River's giving you that speed and that motivation. What did Bryce's win do for you and the downhill team going into Bormio?
I mean, I think like that was so impressive and so cool for him to ski so well. I mean, I think you look at the whole the whole downhill team, and they were all able to have some really good sections or some really good runs too. So I think it's good to gain that confidence as a team and try to continue to push each other. I mean, I think personally, like I see Bryce up there and I'm psyched for him, but I also, I don't want him to be so alone. I want to contend against them too. It's that like friendly rivalry that I think is healthy with our team. So I'm hoping we're all kind of, motivated and recognize like we are a strong team and that we can compete, just so that on race day, we're in the hunt.
All right, let's switch to Bormio. I have my bronze medal from Bormio hanging right here. It's kind of rusty and been dropped a lot. Darren has a silver. AJ's been on the podium. When I ran it, it was, I don't know, AJ, if you ran it too, but it was in February and March. Now it's run in December. Let's all try to describe this downhill. It is long. People fall in the finish relatively commonly because they are so tapped out. It is dangerous. It is dark. It is icy. It is full of terrain. It is the most challenging, maybe not the most dangerous. That's Kitzbühel's, but to me, Bormio is just an amazing test physically and mentally. Darren, you've won there twice. You won a medal. What's your description of Bormio and how does it stand out?
Well, Louis, I think Bormio it's the most relentless downhill out there. It is really physically demanding, high speed up the top. It's got a ton of terrain. I always loved showing up there because it basically made, like, I had to find out what I was made of when I showed up there, and I had to bring it. It's still got good flow. You can really match like just the hill, the flow really well. I love that right footer coming across the traverse like setting yourself up for the traverse. So for me, I was like, I just gonna roll on this thing and go. You see a lot of guys coming in there and not really quite confident enough and like sliding the top of the turn to get yourself set for the traverse. And I thought that was really important to come in there and just lace the strongest, cleanest turn as possible, take all that speed across that left foot traverse. And so it was a challenge. It was a challenge almost top to bottom. And I liked having that extra grit to just keep pushing at the bottom. I was not going to give up anything. You know, I was still fighting so hard for aerodynamics and looking for the fast line at the bottom. And it's a mental challenge because you are feeling it. Your legs are burning. It's tough on the body, but I just love digging really deep and just going for it. And I think that's where I could separate myself, a lot of guys. But it's just like Ride the Lightning, Metallica from top to bottom. It came on and it was so fun. And I was really excited last year watching RCS just smoke that Super G, and then in the downhill he was just on the edge. Like you flew off that one jump on Turbo Road and we're way back in the tails, and that was downhill style, man. That was so fun to watch and just cranking on that hill. And obviously it's just, you found the flow, get it back, and I want to see that happen again, top to bottom this time.
Sully, only 11th there, so it didn't match your style. What was so challenging for Bormio for you, Marco?
I mean, like Darren said, that last pitch is key, and I think I always just stumped out down there. I remember several times my splits were kind of top 5 or maybe even podium coming into the last pitch, and it just never lined up for me. You know, it's such a leg burner. I felt like I don't know, I wasn't unfit, but it takes something to dig deep on that last pitch to really stay on it, and it just never lined up for me. But I do think that course, even though it's really rattly, it has great flow. Like Darren said, you know, it does all link together, and you can look at it that way as one just long flowing course from start to finish. You know, it's the way to do it, no matter how bad your legs are hurting.
Marco, you need to join me a few more times on the uphill sprints on Donner Summit, the Puke Fest. That's what you needed there for Bormio. Yeah.
In hindsight,
you showed up one time and you didn't show up again.
And I didn't show up on the podium either. I guess there's a correlation there.
Yeah, I ran the course in December and in the springtime throughout my career, and my second place year was the World Cup finals. So it was a spring race. It was really bumpy, but I'll tell you what I love about that track is you go out of the starting gate and you got, you know, a left footer and a right footer, and you're just accelerating through both of those. And then you get launched into space off this huge jump, and then you land, and now you begin to accelerate again. I mean, when you thought you were going fast before that jump, you land and you head into that Turbo Road, and you've got that jump that's like this fly off jump, and your tail's, you know, you're landing on your tail, and you just can't keep up with your skis. And I just love that section all the way out there through where it jumps into those big Super G turns that head into the traverse. And that course, I mean, any other course would have ended off that big, huge jump after the traverse, because it's like long enough, right? And then you get to the bottom pitch, and it's just punishment to go into that last pitch, and you just, these relentless turns with in the dark, and it's bumpy, and your legs are completely cooked. And yeah, like Darren said, you just have to find a way to let them run and stay aerodynamic and try to keep racing the hill. I mean, it's survival, but you know, if you can find some ounce of energy that you can dig for, then you can make up time, because there's a lot of guys that do just lose a ton of speed on those bottom turns because they don't have the strength to resist all of those forces. So it's a great track. I love it. And I can't believe that I'm that tired after a minute 58. You know, I mean, I've run Vangan and crossed the finish line feeling tired at 2:30, and you know, you come to Bormio, and it's punishment all the way down. It just requires everything from start to finish.
Well, AJ brought up that start. I mean, that start is so fun.
Yeah,
just ripping that left footer, right footer, you switch. I mean, you could almost like just take off, you know, like laid up on that right edge, and I mean, it's just game on out of the start gate. I think that's what like really fired me up. It's like a Kitzbühel,
yeah,
you know, where you just get into it, but it does not stop. Where Kitzbühel, you have one gliding section at the style hung, but Bormio is just, I mean, it just, you're firing the whole way down. So it was something I really look forward to racing.
So we've described it as brutal, relentless, a nightmare. Ryan, you seem to connect with it. Describe Bormio for you, and physically, are you ready for this punishment?
Yeah, I think when people think about Bormio, it's like based on fear. And I feel like sometimes I kind of thrive off that. Like when I know other guys are scared, I think that's when I want to push myself and kind of make it worse for them, show them like what's possible. But when they're in that kind of that negative mindset, like, and being there positive, I think is really powerful. So, I mean, I just like, for one, I think I don't have the greatest start. So Bormio is perfect for me. I can just click out of the start and just find the fall line, get going, accelerating really fast, and be in there. I think that top split's how you kind of have to, set it, like set the mentality that you're going to attack this thing and move forward and find the fall line. But it just like, yeah, those first, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds come at you so fast that you're like going over turbo road at that point, that like, it just comes so fast. I mean, last year it was quite a ride. I was not expecting to get kicked so much there. So then I was kind of, I think, allowed myself to race and just really focus in on my skiing. But I think what's cool is there's gliding, there's technical aspects, there's high speeds too. As a downhiller, you want to be a well-rounded machine. And that's why I think the best skiers that show up on race day are like true, quality, best downhillers in the world. I don't know. I've kind of, between training runs and the races, I've definitely had like some disappointing days there, but I think recently embracing the challenge and, trying to take what the hill gives you and flow with that and not fight it. There's different styles of skiing it where you can just, be one with the hill and take the speed that it's giving you, or you can be abrasive to it and fight. And seems like the first one's the way to go if you want to be fast.
I got one more thing to add on that, embracing the challenge. One year, it was my last year racing. I came down first training run, I won it. And I was like, all right, we're testing some new skis. First day, this one ski was on snow, new construction, everything. And Tom just said, hey, let's just give this a shot. And I went out hard because I wanted to feel, how the ski was going to perform. And the second day back then, how you finished, if you win the train run, you're starting 30th. They're trying to put like the fast guys in the back of the top 30 for TV and just getting people to hang around a little longer. So it's a disadvantage, obviously, in Bormio. It gets dark, it gets rougher. I mean, way later in the day, start 30th. But I'm coming down, same skis. We tried to give it a second run, just to validate that ski. And I was putting the coals to it and then decided to stand up at the last jump, just air brake, checking speed, and I win the train run again. And I was so fast everywhere. And the next day on inspection, the Austrians, the Swiss, the Italians, all those coaches were trying to get in my head when I was inspecting, saying, oh, you blew it yesterday. Like, you're starting 30th. You have no chance today. And I was like, oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to show you. I mean, this is like, it's mine. And there was even a crash around like in the high teens. And I went to the older start house and just laid down on the bench. Huey had to come get me back up. I told him, hey, like, get me like in 15 minutes before my start, once they restart this thing. It was like a 40-minute hold. And so it was late in the day, dark. I came down and lit the thing up and won. And it was like 3 really fast runs back to back to back. And I embraced that challenge. And I think that's like what you got to do. I mean, other guys like Fritz Strobel was like 12th, start, and he was leading. And he thought he had it in the bag, and I came down 30th and took it. And that was like probably I was trying to show myself that, but everybody else, because people were like trying to like get in my head, all the other like Euros. And other racers did that, but it was more the coaches. Some of those guys like calling me out and trying my head, but use that fuel, man, to light the fire even more.
Let's talk about training runs, Ryan. Do you have a specific plan for each one? Whether you're testing skis, testing a line, do you like to win the training run, which you've done a couple of times, or at least in Val Gardena? What's your training run strategies?
I think it's dependent on where I am. I think for Gardena, I felt that like I needed to kind of push my skiing based on how Beaver Creek went. I think It was about kind of, like setting a pace for myself that I could be comfortable with. It wasn't like I was trying to win, but I mean, it kind of happened that way. And I think that's how training runs have happened for me in the past, is like when I'm skiing well and not thinking so much, then I can be really fast. And it's the battle of like taking that mentality and bringing it to a race, not changing too much, that I think I'm still learning from. But I would say it's nice to be fast, but again, like training runs, I think everyone's working a little bit differently. If they're trying to figure out skis or if they're just trying to make it down. I know the older guys are usually pretty impressively slow based on how much they bring it on race day, and not hanging too much weight on what it means to be fast in a training run. For Bormia, I know that I've been able to ski it fast, so probably trying to take it as like, what sections do I want to go at? What sections do I think are important? Which sections is it okay to kind of, chill out and not ski the race line that you want to show immediately? I mean, I think there is a little bit of a game to play when you're out there and seeing things your way, but not trying to give too much to the other guys. Yeah, so we'll see. I think when we get there, speaking with Heinz too, seeing what his ideas are for skis and what we want to be working on that side of things. But it's always a no pressure situation, so you have some opportunity to try stuff out.
Hey, how's that been playing out with Heinz? I mean, I was really surprised actually when you went from Rossi to head. I mean, you were so fast last year, things are working out so good, and then all of a sudden you switch brands with, I don't think, any testing. I mean, what was the process there? Have you just decided to go for it? I mean, Heinz, to have him in your corner, he's incredible. I mean, he put Lindsey Vonn on top over and over and over, and a lot of other racers. But so you have a guy you can really trust there. And but that's what was your first initial thought process of even wanting to change off of the brand you've been kicking ass on?
Yeah, it was definitely it didn't happen overnight. It was kind of a constant conversation from probably the end of March up until I signed and moved on away from Rossignol and on to Head, which happened very beginning of May. So it was, I mean, when I got injured, not on my mind whatsoever. I figured I'd re-sign with them in the springtime. And I think as those conversations came about, I believe either Johan or Reiner reached out to Forrest Carey, our head coach, just seeing, what was going on with me. And they basically got their foot in the door and kept that conversation going. And that was kind of, once Heinz got involved, his name got involved with it, it definitely kind of pushed me in that direction. And, I'm the type of person that I try to weigh everything as best as possible. And once I make the decision, then I move fully forward with that and, don't look back. So it's been cool. Heinz is incredibly impressive. He's just such a cool guy, a great personality, really hard worker, and so dedicated to be, the best. I think he is as hungry as anyone I know about, wanting to be that top dog. And I mean, it shows based on what he's been able to accomplish with this, the people he's worked with, between Bodie, Lindsay. I mean, it's a huge, huge crew dating 40 years, something crazy, but I've had a lot of fun with him. I think, we're definitely hungry for more, and we're trying to figure out how we can do that together. And, he has some brilliant ideas, and I think it's about trusting that and trusting what we have right now to be able to build just on this relationship and move forward. Obviously for this season, but I think the long term too,
But yeah, trusting that program without even making a turn on those skis. Yeah, so you didn't have any concrete, factual times to go off of or a feeling. You just went because the program looked really good to you. And obviously it's working for a lot of other guys out there and girls.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you look at the best speed skiers in the world. And for me, that seemed like the majority were on Head. So that was, I think, that heavily weighed in the decision. I mean, looking at what Kriegmeyer was able to do just year one on the new brand and see his success. And then, I mean, Beat Voigt, Matthias Meyer, Johan Clary, they're all kind of the guys that I watch to try to get better myself. So I think trying to be, see what they're doing, have access to the equipment they're on and try to be competitive with that. That was kind of where my mentality is at. And it's been a cool process. It's definitely different than what I would have expected, but no regrets at this point.
Can you take us behind the scenes a little bit? Pull back the curtain for us people that want to see behind the curtain. Did he provide older skis from other racers that you could try? Are all your skis brand new? And are you testing now daily, weekly?
So yeah, I first started working with Heinz. I think it was August, would have been August 7th was our first day on snow in Zermatt. And we had a 5.5 week long camp between Zermatt and Saas-Fee. And that whole time we were just, it was my first time on the brand on speed skis. So stepping in to every kind of variation that they had. And we were testing, skis, different constructions, different side cuts, different lengths, bindings, plates, and then boots and everything. So everything was kind of being thrown at me, trying to figure out what type of skier I am and how the equipment can work to my advantage in that sense. And it seemed like almost every run there was a new pair of skis. And toward the end of the camp, we kind of started to be able to filter out, the very obvious things that weren't working and the obvious things that were, and taking that with us. And it's just been constant too. The time spent in Copper, feeling that different snow and trying to take out those fast few pairs that we could take for races has been huge. But the interesting thing with Head is just based on kind of as Creekmire came on, they built some longer skis, which other brands have been on. Like when I was on Rosino, I was on a 215 Super G and a 223 downhill, and Head at the time was just 213 and 218s. So this past spring pushed a longer Super G and pushed a longer downhill ski to try. So everyone that's on the same ski as me is on a newer ski. Heinz had access to older skis too that he still has in the quiver, but I think I'm trying to just get to something that I feel I'll understand every single turn, every condition. And for me, that's kind of the longer skis at this point. But I think it'll take time, just getting the skis on snow and getting them faster and faster.
What was your first reaction or impression when you clicked into those new skis? You got off the lift, the first turn was like, did you go lay it out there and like arc it, or were you skidding some smear turns trying to feel the edges? What was your first impression that first run?
Well, yeah, day one was in Mammoth when I was in like GS skis, GS boots. And so that was the biggest contrast, because like 2 days before I was on Rossi at the beginning of the camp and then had a day off. And that's when, I made that switch, did the signing and all that stuff. So that was just apparent that it was like, this is totally new. It felt more like the first day back on snow after, like 2 years hiatus than it did the 2 days that it was. But it was quick. It took probably 3 runs, and then it kind of just slowly, my patterns kind of built into adjusting to what the equipment was. And I think speed was actually, like on Super G and downhill skis, was less of a difference. There's obviously minor things based on kind of how the ski held in different snow conditions and that type of thing. But I think I was just trying to get miles and get, up to speed with those differences. So it was a cool process for sure.
Since we're talking about equipment, like from Val Gardena to Bormio, a huge contrast of courses. How similar will your equipment be from downhill to downhill?
Yeah, so I know one, like, we'll see what we're on race day, but the one thing that I know we're trying to change is base bevel, trying to get a little bit more aggressive. So what I was on in Gardena was definitely more built for kind of gliding and, a smooth initiation. But when you're on the ice in Bormio, you gotta have something that holds there. So that'll be the biggest thing, biggest difference. And then beyond that, I think part of it's also just having consistency too. Even though the snow is going to be different, it's not going to react the same. I think it's still about just skiing that equipment well and moving well that I need to be focusing on.
All right, I'm going to take you way back to where you grew up on Cochran Ski Hill. You can correct me. How many vertical is it?
I always say it's 300. I'm never totally confident on the total feet, but it's not much.
It's not much. talk about, I mean, AJ, I think Swain, we have a couple of Palisades at Tahoe, Middlebury College Snowball. It doesn't matter where you come from. Talk about what it was like to grow up on that hill and how did you get the most out of 200 and something vertical feet?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I think growing up in such a small place, just a T-bar and a rope tow, it was so much more about learning to love the sport and learning what you're given, and taking those opportunities and running with it. But it was a lot of fun. I would think like pretty normal, total normal Vermont childhood, just young little kid. Obviously, like I was fortunate to grow up with some pretty fast ski racing cousins. I think that had a pretty big influence. I think when I was, 8-10 years old was when Jess and Jimmy were kind of breaking onto the US ski team. So I could see when they would come home, I could see that like the cool code and, how good they were at skiing, and try to take that and use that as motivation to work hard myself. But I think early on, like no snowmaking, no lights, it was definitely good snow years where we were very thankful for. And then the tougher years, we kind of ventured off to other places that had better conditions, for sure.
I do want to bring up one more interesting fact. 50 years ago, this February, your mom won the gold medal in 1972. Pretty cool. How was that growing up with a gold medal mom?
Well, she was just, she was a gold medal mom for nothing to do with the Olympics, just because who she is and how great of a person she is. But it was cool. It kind of like, it was numbing in a way of not really understanding how just incredible it was that she did win the Olympics. Like it's just, she just like, that's what it was. That's who my mom was. And it took a while for me to, get to this level and recognize the amount of work and just skill, dedication that it takes to do that. I have a much different perspective at this point. So she's awesome and I love her. And, I'm so glad I get to call her mom.
Gold medal mom. Hey, Ryan, has she talked to you about just how she went through it physically and the mental process too? Did you get some tips actually from mom as like a mentor or, like a former teammate of yours?
Yeah. Well, I think she definitely has a really good, understanding mentally of what it took to be that level athlete and to achieve such an incredible thing. Winning the Olympics is definitely so many kids' dreams come true. And I think she was able to kind of pass along a lot of those just positive type of mindsets onto myself. Focusing on the process, enjoying it, taking the positives. I think those are the types of things that just as people are what make people successful. And, it's not going to be, not every day is going to be perfect. And you have to kind of like roll with the punches and the good days. You have to appreciate that. But she's definitely growing up. She was able to, pass along a lot of that information and a lot of her knowledge on me. And I think lately it's been more just, she gets to be my mom. And I think I'm trying to figure it out on my own as well.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Is she going to be in China for the Olympics?
Nope, no shot at that. Which I think I'm fortunate, or I think that is fortunate. I always feel when there's like family or people around that sometimes I feel added pressure. So going into the Olympics, obviously it'd be cool for her to be there, but I think it'll be, a good way to just really focus in and think about the skiing at that time.
What happens when I show up at Kitsville? Is that going to be extra pressure for you this year? Or should I just
every time I see you
say, hey, what tell it to do?
No,
line you up.
As a racer, I have to be able to deal with that pressure, But every time I see you at a race, it like, I get a little anxious. I'm like, holy shit, Darren's here. Oh, sorry.
Be there,
You're gonna have to edit that out.
Kick ass.
Holy shoot, Darren's here. Holy cow, Darren's here.
No extra pressure. I just think it was really cool when I saw like all the Austrians at Kitzbühel, the former racers, just watching their athletes and kind of just saying, hey boys, we're here to watch something, throw it down. I loved having my own like crew show up in Beaver Creek and Kitts and Vangan. Like that just like, we were just talking with Bryce about that, you know, how it just adds a little more energy, but I mean, everybody's a little different. So, yeah, I just love kind of like, I mean, I was riding the lift with Tommy Ford morning of inspection at Beaver Creek when he won the GS, and he was just so chill and just, you know, we're just, I mean, talking about the race and really just like, it was awesome. But like, hey, it's, if as a former teammate, or, you know, our former like US ski team member, it's just really incredible to be there and see you guys perform. And we just want to show you that we're supporting you all the way.
Yeah.
So don't take the pressure, but you know, I mean, even from afar, but when I could show up, it's a blast, you know, watching you guys get after it.
Yeah, I think as an athlete, like having you guys be at the races, it's cool just knowing, I think, one, how many different personalities there are that have had success within the American Downhill crew. You know, like we're all our own people, and embracing the kind of collective energy that I think we all share is what's so powerful. And so I think that's what I have to drive. It's like sometimes I get carried away with like, oh, like I gotta impress this person. That's not what I need to focus on. You know, like when I see you guys show up, I think it's about embracing, you know, your energy that you're bringing to the table so that we can push it to that next level. And
we asked this question to Bryce. I think you just mentioned it. There's so many different kinds of American downhillers that have had success. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. What is unique to you? We could probably try to describe you as very unique in what we see, but what are those one or two things that you are that make Ryan and that you've held on to make yourself successful?
I think, you know, it's like when I'm skiing my best, I know, one, I'm relaxed. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying it. And I think the last thing is just, you know, like trusting my kind of unique ability, who I am as a skier, you know, how I'd stack up, how I line up, how I'm able to drive into the turn, and combining those three aspects is kind of what I feel.
Excited to keep watching you do what you do, man. For me, I think my first memory of you was in Schladming, World Champs, I think 2013.
Yep.
And you came on the scene, you know, pretty kind of new the downhill, and you've just always had a really nice style and really confident way of skiing, and it's really fun to watch. So just have that belief in yourself and keep charging, man. Good luck in Bormio.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, the downhill title, we haven't really talked about that much, but I mean, that race is wide open. You know, you got Kilda, who's got a DNF, you know, Bryce won a race and he's had some, you know, no point races. I mean, it's early in the season too, and we've got a bunch of great races coming up that are going to, I think, be right in your wheelhouse. So I would, man, keep your eye on keeping the bar keep the bar high. You know, look for, have high aspirations for yourself. There's no reason that this needs to be a rebuild season. I mean, yes, it's the Olympics and there's a ton going on, but man, go out there and get after it every race and keep some high expectations.
Yeah, we're not worried about you, RCS. We're just waiting till you tap into what you got. Did you get your Secret Santa present already?
I've got half of it. I still have to spend 12 euros. I've spent 8 euros so far. So
you got
probably go down
left?
to the Christmas market. Yeah.
Maximum of 20 euros for Secret Santa. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should up that up for Bryce though. It should be kind of like a 200 euro.
Do you have someone in mind that you'd like to have choose your present? It's a white elephant, right? So it's random.
Yeah. So, oh, that's a good point. Well, I try to get it where I'm like, one, I'd be psyched to get it, and two, it's not unique to me. You know, it'd be fun. So I don't know. There's anyone special. I'm sure Bryce would. I don't know. Maybe he'd like it a lot, but we'll see.
I mean, if you're getting a gag gift, it's, you know, someone in mind you'd really like to have get stuck with.
Yeah,
it,
I'm
right?
not. Yeah, but I'm not. I like would feel too bad if I got a gift that no one liked. You know, I'm like too self-conscious about that. So it's more of like I try to think of something that people would want to use and enjoy, get a little excitement out of.
Does everybody get a steal? Like there's white elephant parties where you know, if somebody gets one, you can steal it, but you only get one steal. So really, like the person that, you know, goes last maybe has the most advantage.
The person that goes last for sure does. The one rule we have is if an item gets stolen twice, then it's like off the table. So you kind of, that's where like you wouldn't be able to probably take the best item because that's going to get stolen twice. Yeah, so you kind of always, you have that option too, if you want to unwrap something or steal something.
Well, we'll have to follow up and tell us what you got for your white elephant, because we know what you're going to get at Bormio, and it's going to be success. So thank you, RCS, for your time and sharing so much of your inner thoughts about DH with us. Thanks to AJ, Marco, and D Money. And thanks for watching and listening, everybody, to our American Downhill podcast. If you liked it, spread the word, share with your friends, coaches, teammates in your club. You can find us on skiracing.com for our video, and now in audio form, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just search American Downhiller Podcast. It also helps a ton for you to subscribe and also give us a high rating. Looking forward, our next podcast coming up, we're going to cover Kitzbühel, Wengen, also some topics, and of course, the Olympics in Beijing. What Olympic pressure does to athletes, and also we will give you details on the new Olympic course. All right, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, and always remember, ski fast and take chances.